Today we will be discussing about wood properties and utilization. That is the topic of today's presentation. Just to introduce you about the wood, because many participants are from non-wood background. So you take wood as a versatile material which can be used for different applications. It is one of the known environmental friendly material. It is solid and carries very good properties, many different properties. That is why it is versatile. Very easy to work, unlike the synthetic material like steel or aluminum or any other synthetic material. Wood is very easy to work. It's renewable as well as it is natural. Pleasant to look and touch also. We see here in any room, if you go, you find a lot of wooden articles, table, chair, many. And people do say touch wood. कहते हैं ना touch wood. So wood is always being taken as a material to which you can swear. Okay. So, हाँ, उसकी कसम खा सकते हैं. इतना reliable material है. So wood surfaces have positive psychological effects on the human beings. That has been proven that if you have a room with the wooden flooring and many wooden articles, then you have better soothing effect compared to any other kind of material if it is in the room. Okay. So, but what are different woods which are available and how their properties do vary with different species? Let us try to understand that. Because we know that wood can be used from building, building construction, furniture, paper, fuel. So many applications of wood are available. But when we talk about the wood, generally a few species comes to our mind, and that too are called the conventional or primary species, like teak wood, sagon. North India it is called sagon or teak tectonograndis. Similarly, rosewood, Dalbergia latifolia, sandalwood, of course. Here in south we find some mostly bent teak, that is Lagostomia microcarpa, and then Mathi, that is laurel, Honne, that is Bijasal, Bandru, that is Haldu, Adina cardifolia, and then Haled, that is mainly used in Chenpatna toys as a toy making material. Then, of course, salwood, mostly used in North India, and it is for doors and windows and many other applications. Chivane, that is also called Melinar borea, Gamari, Sisu. And last week I was in Saharanpur, and a lot of Sisu is being used for different applications, particularly furniture and toy making. And sesame mortality, yeah. And sesame belongs to the same species where rosewood belonged, Dalbergia family. Yeah. And there is a lot because Dalbergia latifolia is CITES appendix 2 species. It is a kind of endangered. So, CITES. So, but Sisu is has also been put in the same list. So because of that, but Sisu is being grown in plantation, like in North India. A lot of Sisu wood is available. So there is a problem in identifying the Sisu wood from rosewood. So ministry has sponsored one project also to us. We are working on that, using different techniques, latest state-of-art techniques like NIR, near infrared spectroscopy, and chemical fingerprinting, and DNA barcoding. These three techniques we are applying to distinguish between the Dalbergia latifolia and Dalbergia sisu. It is popularity of the woods. How uh, yeah, the earlier they were being used. Yeah, now correct, right, right. Yeah, this is just example I have given. Ah. From the market, what is available in the market. Generally, people come to us for the identification and for property evaluation. So I have just prepared from that. So these are called the mostly called the primary species, like Andaman potok. It may not be available here, but in Andaman it is plenty. Huh. But Andaman potok is very local to Andaman only. It is not available here. Some people tried as a plantation, but it didn't come properly. Yeah. Which one? Mahogany. Mahogany is coming up. Yeah, timber is for for furniture. Is a reddish color timber. It is mostly mahogany. Mahogany is yeah. It is coming up. Here also we have produced several furniture items. Now, when you visit Xylarium, you can see that Acacia mangium has been used for making the furnitures. Yeah. Which one? Tecuma laundata. Yeah. We have Marwati. Growth is slow. But that has been introduced in South India as a plantation, and we have studied also, and we found that it is as good as what is coming from Rajasthan. Ah, so that kind of plantation is coming up here also in South. And naturally durable. There is no need for any kind of treatment like teak. That is why it is called Marwar teak also. So these are the different species, and which we have to uh, study the plantation timbers, particularly small girth and short rotation, because plantation timbers generally people expect that within 10 to 15 years we should get the returns. So how these species can be used for different applications? For that, we are going to discuss these. There are many species which are also called secondary, lesser known species. So there are only few institutes like IWS, TFRI, KFRI, and EPT. They have been working on this kind of species, and so far only 500 species have been properly worked out. Still, a lot of scope is there, particularly when hybrids and clones are coming up of different species, to which purpose they can be used. Based on their properties only, it can be ascertained that this particular species is more suitable. See, any wood can be used for any application, but there is a certain applications are more suitable for one particular kind of wood. So how we are going to determine based on the properties only? Yeah, as in the inauguration also, director sir was telling that there is a huge gap between demand and supply, and India is one of the major. Which one? Major, it is very correct. So there is a huge gap between demand and supply. So how to fill that gap? One is, of course, very easy method is to import lot of wood, but import it is not a solution. We have to grow our own wood, maybe particularly. Yeah, yeah. So there is around 90 million cubic meter is the gap. So all put together, yeah. So we have to go for tree outside of the forest. If forest is being conserved because of our Supreme Court orders and everything, Then we have to grow the tree outside the forest, farm forestry, agro-based systems. These are the possible solutions. Many, there are more than 50 countries. But teak is coming from Malaysia, from Burma teak, that is Burma teak, Ghana teak, African teak. No, logs. Mostly it is coming logs. But Malaysia, now they are selling the cut sizes. The seed source has gone from here only. And then it has been raised. Morning he was telling the same thing, that Ghana teak and Latin America also a lot of teak is being grown. Within 25 to 30 years, you will get a sufficient girth that can be used for many applications. Okay, so when we talk about the wood properties, there are many properties like any material, but these are the main properties which we are going to discuss about. One is called the anatomical properties, that is related with the gross features of the wood, how wood looks like. Sujata must have told about that. And then the internal structure like fiber and vessel and ray morphology. And based on the anatomical structure only, based on the anatomical structure only, we are going to identify the wood. Wood identification is done based on the anatomical features. So anatomical features are like a fingerprint for the wood. So like our fingerprint, we can identify that this is me or this is based on your fingerprint are different than my fingerprint. So almost each wood has its own kind of internal structure. That is called the anatomical structure. So anatomical properties are required for wood identification and certification. And then we have physical properties like how much moisture the wood has, what is the density of the wood, how much is the shrinkage in the wood, color, grain, all those comes under the physical properties. And then we have the mechanical properties like wood is also being used as a structural material for building and construction and for furniture and so many where load is applied on the wood. Any kind of load is applied on the wood. So those kind of properties comes under the mechanical properties or strength properties like strength, stiffness, compressive strength, shear strength, tension strength. If you pull apart the wood, hardness, how hard is the wood, all those properties comes under the mechanical properties. And then based on these two properties, we have to determine the suitability indices and suitability figure of the wood, which finally tells us that this wood can be used for these different applications. Okay. And why it is important to test and evaluate the different wood properties? First is to generate the scientific knowledge for rational utilization of the wood. See, we should use the right wood for right application. That is very important. When you use the right wood, for example, for the application where we can use a light timber, then there is no need to go for the heavy timber or the very strong timber. Like for furniture, nobody likes to have the salwood because salwood is very strong and very heavy also, and nobody wants to have a heavy furniture. So we should know which wood can be used for what applications. So right wood for right application at right price, because we should not pay unnecessarily for something which we do not wish to use that. So the generation of scientific knowledge, and then screening the right species for right use with the right price. And then finally, we recommend the wood species to be included in the BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard, because there are many Indian standard. Bureau of Indian Standard has taken out many standards which gives us different wood species which are suitable for different applications. Even for seasoning, there is a Indian standard. How to test the properties, there is a Indian standard. For everything, there is a Indian standard. And they also provide the which wood are more suitable for what application. Like for construction, these are the different woods which should be used. And for furniture, they have a list: class 1, class 2, class 3, based on that. So finally, this because the PWD or some other big department, they follow the Bureau of Indian Standard. So once the wood species is included in that list, then large scale applications can be thought of. So for all this, we have to study the mechanical, physical, and properties. So anatomical properties, because Sujata has already covered most of the things, so I will not go much into detail here. Just to overview, the hardwoods, wood can be divided into two: hardwood and softwood. And hardwoods, the structure you can see, and softwood structure you can see. There is a basic difference. That is the presence of vessel, that is pores. That is why it is called porous wood. Another is called non-porous wood, that is conifer. Okay, there are resin canals in the softwood, and in hardwoods you find the pores. And based on the arrangement of the pores and vessels, further the woods have been classified as ring porous, semi-ring porous, and diffuse porous. These are the growth rings are there. That every year you will find one growth ring, and by counting the growth ring, you can also estimate the age of the tree. That will not be very accurate, but plus minus 2 or 3 years you can find out. Many times the people are interested to know what was the age when this tree was cut. So they send the disc to us, and then after grinding it properly and exposing the growth rings, we can count it. And it is more peculiar, particularly ring porous wood. So the growth rings are very distinct, and you can easily count. But in some woods, these growth rings are not very distinct. They're like eucalyptus. It is very difficult to distinguish the growth rings. So not possible to find out the age. But in teak and other things, it is. I will not go much in detail here. Only cross section, radial section, and tangential, 3 sections. We have to observe the wood under microscope and then compare it with the existing library of the standard samples. And after comparison, we can find out which wood is that.